People call me the ghost thief, not out of vanity, but out of precision. I don't break in, I glide. I don't vandalize, I collect. My philosophy is simple. If the security is good, the reward is better. And that night, the reward was the crow's feather, a jewel that, they said, brought bad luck to whoever possessed it. The target, a collector's mansion in a gated community so isolated that the electric fence blended in with the forest. It was the kind of place where the only sound at night is your own breathing. The security was predictable, based on technology and routines. I mapped everything out for 3 weeks. I knew the time the patrolling guard took his coffee break. I knew where the CCTV blind spot was. The adrenaline of the entry never changes. It's a buzz at the back of your neck, a total focus. The gentle click of my jammer, silencing the secondary alarm, was music to my ears. I pulled on my leather gloves, adjusted the flashlight on my wrist. This was going to be another clean job. I was inside. But as soon as my foot landed on the Persian carpet in the living room, the familiar buzz in my head turned into an icy shiver. The office door, where the jewel would be, was slightly ajar, and it shouldn't have been. Was the ghost being sloppy? Number. Something was wrong. I had the perfect plan. Every thief thinks that, of course, but mine was different. The basement ventilation system, used for cigar exhaust, was my blind spot. In under 5 minutes, the grate was off, my climbing gear clean and dry, and I was inside, slipping into a poorly lit side corridor. Inside, the smell of expensive wood dust and dampness hit me. I turned on my micro flashlight and began to move. Every step was a calculated choreography, weight distributed on my toes, shallow breathing. I was to pass through the main hall. The jewel, the crow's feather, was in the safe behind a bookshelf in the office. The point of entry was clean. The adrenaline was at the ideal point, high enough to keep me sharp, low enough not to make me make mistakes. I reached the corridor leading to the office. I was feeling invincible, and it's precisely in that moment, when you feel invincible, that the universe throws you a reminder. The mahogany office door, heavy and dark, should have been hermetically sealed. In my maps, in my observations, it was always locked. But when I got closer, I saw that it wasn't completely closed. It wasn't open enough for light to leak out, but it was just propped shut. A minimal crack, perhaps 1 or 2 millimeters. That's impossible. I knew the owners were security obsessed. No one who owns millions in art leaves the main safe room door ajar. I stopped. My muscles tensed. My mind raced. Did the night guard forget to check? Was it a careless mistake by the housekeeper who left early? I tried to convince myself it was a trivial human error, but this house didn't feel like a place where trivial errors happened. What paralyzed me wasn't the possibility of an alarm, but the gut feeling. My job is to break into what is locked, to violate what is sealed. When the obstacle is already halfway removed, you know there's a trap, a lure, and the silence of the house, which was once complacent, now felt alert. I took a deep breath, pulled out the pistol from my holster. The ghost, who was supposed to glide, now had his finger on the trigger. With the tip of my fiberglass stick, I pushed the door, just enough for it to move inward and reveal the darkness of the office. That sudden silence told me my burglary was over. My survival, however, was just beginning. The door gave way with a muffled click, echoing in my ear like a gunshot. The office was vast, smelling of aged leather and cold cigar ashes. The faint light of my flashlight cut across the room, fixing on what I was looking for. The bookshelf, and behind it, the safe. I took 2 steps forward. That's when I heard it. It didn't come from upstairs nor from the entrance hall. It came from the corridor I had just left, the corridor behind me. It was a creeping sound, a dragging of fabric on carpet, as if something large and heavy was being pulled. It wasn't a step, it was a stalk. My blood ran cold. I abandoned the bookshelf, retreated, my body pressed against the wall. My ghost brain screamed, "Break routine, change location, check the cameras." I had a secondary monitor in my backpack designed to intercept the house's internal Wi-Fi signal. I slid the backpack off my shoulder, opened it, and turned on the monitor. praying the security system was dumb enough to use a wireless network. The monitor sprang to life, displaying 4 internal feeds: the restroom empty, the dining room empty, the library, and then the 4th feed. It showed the main corridor, the only way back to my basement entry point. But it wasn't empty. I didn't see anyone. But the image was distorted, rippling like water. And in the upper corner, where the camera was fixed, the plastic casing was cracked. Worse, suddenly the feed turned blue. Completely dead. It wasn't a traditional security alarm. It was physical damage. Someone had just smashed that camera. I wasn't alone. And whoever was with me wasn't a tired watchman. It was someone operating at my level of stealth, but with a much more violent intent, a master touch. I turned off the monitor, sweat running down the back of my neck. The jewel, the crow's feather, was 10 feet away from me, worth millions. I couldn't breathe. The ghost thief was a master at hiding in the dark. What was out there was a master at waiting in the dark. I wasn't breaking into the house. I had walked into someone's cage. I had to get out of there, and fast. I dropped the backpack with the monitor on the floor. Zero focus on greed. Now it was pure and simple escape. I changed my stance, from hunter to prey, and the prey, if it can't run, must hide. I didn't waste a second on the safe. The crow's feather meant nothing when faced with the absolute certainty that I was prey. My only way out was the service stairwell, the quickest route to my drainage tunnel entry point in the basement. I sprinted from the office, the leather of my suit surprisingly loud against the house's deafening silence. But the silence didn't last. The moment I hit the main corridor, I heard it again. The dragging scrape, only now it was urgent, chasing. It was fast, terrifyingly fast, closing the distance from the office at a speed no normal human could manage in the dark. I reached the stairwell door, threw it open, and prepared to bolt down to the basement. I got 1 foot on the first step, and then I froze. I hadn't heard the sound of pursuit behind me, but rather the subtle, sickening sound of something waiting below. A quiet, rasping breath from the dark landing 3 flights down. It was almost inaudible, masked by the frantic pounding of my own heart, but unmistakable. It knew my exit. It hadn't chased me. It had cut me off. I pulled back, easing the door shut so silently the hinges barely sighed. My blood pressure must have been through the roof. This thing wasn't just physical, it was intelligent. It had anticipated my path of least resistance. My only option was the roof, the total opposite direction. I turned and climbed the main stairs toward the 3rd floor. I had to move like smoke. Every ounce of training, every quiet night I'd spent observing routines, was now focused on stealth for survival. When I reached the 3rd floor landing, the stairwell door below me, the one I had just closed, slammed open with a violent boom. The scraping sound was immediately audible. Rushing up the steps, knowing I had been there moments ago. With no time left, I executed the only distraction I could afford. I reached into my sleeve, pulled out a small metallic flashbang I used to disable motion sensors, and hurled it back down the stairwell. It clattered off the metal railing 2 floors below, making a loud, convincing clang. The sound was exactly like a panicked person dropping their equipment and running. The thing below, whatever it was, took the bait. I heard the heavy, frantic steps divert and accelerate, charging up the stairs toward the noise, convinced I was sprinting up to the roof. That single second of misdirection was all I needed. I didn't go up. I sprinted in the other direction, down the hallway, aiming for a different, little-used utility closet exit that led to the garage. The ghost thief was back. But this time, I wasn't leaving with treasure. I was leaving with my life.